On today's episode of Titus and Tate, we're talking about these three things, Tate. Your family, your religion, and Rutgers
basketball.
in the Green Bay Packers. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights have come out of nowhere to win 4 straight versus ranked teams. This is surprising in the sense that Rutgers lost 3 straight to terrible teams in November, and now all of a sudden they're very good. And
are they breaking the bubble? That's what a lot of people are asking because, Will Wade broke the bag. Is this Rutgers team going to break the bubble? I think so.
It's Rutgers. Like, first of all, where are we at in the Rutgers experience right now where like some people are arguing they should be in the tournament or not in the tournament? They won't have that argument. Other people are like, should they be ranked or not? Other people are like, is Rutgers the hottest team, literally the single hottest team in the country?
And the numbers say they're like the
number 1
team in America, but they're really there's no way there's 70 teams.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a
They're
lot.
breaking everything. It is it is fun to watch.
It's Rutgers basketball.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, except for when they scored 10 straight to beat Ohio State. That wasn't quite as fun. But Rutgers is on fire. We're going to talk about that. Also, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. It's good to have red in your Scarlet Knights, Red Raiders, whatever. Texas Tech swept Baylor last night, Tate. So we're going to talk about that as well. It is Fraud Friday. We have to hit on that. We also need an ACC update from you. That might be the update right there.
Yeah, just a oof. Just woof. We'll talk about it.
There's a lot to get to. We'll get to all of it, but first,
Woody Durham.
all right, we're going to start with Rutgers, Tate. I assume that's fine by you because what is happening in the Jersey Mike's Center? No longer the Rack. Some people are still calling it the Rack. It is now the Jersey Mike's Center, Jersey Mike's Arena.
I think it's Jersey Mike's Arena, right? But maybe it's the center. But at the end of the day, Jersey Mike's feels pretty perfect for Rutgers basketball. And Steve Peichel, he's got something going here. And if you really, kind of work this whole thing back, Rutgers has a lot of talent that left. And now a lot of people are saying that Rutgers not only a good team this season, Titus, a good program.
Whoa.
Yes.
Rutgers.
Yes.
My God, we're getting carried away, aren't we?
Yeah,
4 wins. So, first of all, let's into the first question. Is Rutgers on the bubble? Is Rutgers, if the tournament started today, if you have no idea what we're talking about, Rutgers has beat 4 straight ranked teams. They beat Michigan State. They've beaten Ohio State. They've beaten Wisconsin. Now they beat Illinois on Wednesday night. They smoked Illinois, an Illinois team that they lost to the first time they played in December. I believe Illinois beat Rutgers by 35.
Yes.
That's not even an exaggeration. I think it was literally 35 points. And Rutgers dominated from start to finish in this one. It was the kind of game where coaches and old school basketball people love to invent the word out-toughed. It's like they can't think of any other word to say. So that was this game. They're watching Rutgers play Illinois, and they're like, they just out-toughed them. Like, what do you mean by that? And they're like, it's the only word I got. They out-toughed them. They out-toughed them all night. They out-rebounded Illinois 46-28. It was a complete ass kicking, and it is something that in a vacuum might be surprising because we are both very high on Illinois. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit. What does this do to our confidence in Illinois? But this run that Rutgers is on they really might be like the hottest team in the country. They beat 4 straight ranked teams. But is it surprising? Because I guess like as I'm now watching Rutgers, I'm like, I don't know, man. This makes a lot of sense given the talent they have. Like, and it dawned on me, Tate. I have an idea. I have an analogy I want to make. Rutgers, I think, is the St. John's of the Big Ten. Rutgers is a team that, like, you look at the roster, you look at like Geo Baker and Ron Harper. That is Posh Alexander and Champagne of the Big Ten. Where you're like, known entities that can explode on any given night. And so. No, I'm not going to pretend like I saw this coming from Rutgers, but at the same time, this is not a situation where you're like, how the hell are they doing this? Because you watch them play, you're like, they have the number 1 scoring defense in the Big Ten in conference games. They are playing tough as hell. There's something about that arena that's giving them juice. And for God's sakes, Ron Harper and Geo Baker can go. And I think it's just that simple. I don't know.
You know what I'm over? I'm over bad losses. You know what I mean? I'm over talking about November losses as if they define who this team is.
Yeah.
We know what this Rutgers team is. They are not who they once were in December. And if anything, we need to remember the shot that, happened against Purdue. That's the Rutgers that we need to remember from 2021. That's the only Rutgers you need to remember. They're the hottest team in America. Nobody wants to play them in March. They should be in March. If Joe Lunardi does not push them, above this whole bubble fray, it'll be a cardinal sin because New Jersey loves basketball. Rutgers is a program without Seton Hall because of COVID. COVID took out Seton Hall. Rutgers has to be that team for New Jersey.
You say that like Seton Hall hasn't.
No. It was
like
all COVID.
They're done. No, like their season is literally over. That COVID stretch.
For my expectation of them winning the Big East, yes, it's over. But at the same time, I'm just saying it feels like Rutgers, the momentum is all there. All signs are pointing to yes for Rutgers basketball, and it's about time. You know what I mean? They needed this moment in time. And this team, like you said, I mean, they have the star power behind it. And nobody wants to see them in March. They're going to be a fun, 10 seed, 9 seed, 8 seed, maybe 7 seed. We'll see.
But as it pertains to the NCAA tournament, we were talking about this. We were riffing on this about some other teams. I think you brought up Carolina, and maybe we mentioned Indiana being on the bubble. Now Rutgers is on the bubble. It really there needs to be someone in the committee in the room on Selection Sunday that offers just a vibe check. That just offers. First of all, there's a lot of basketball left to be played. Rutgers could very easily play their way to where there's no controversy whatsoever. And it's like, yeah, they're definitely. But like if the season ended today. There are some people that do, as you said, look at the November losses and say they don't belong because of that. Their resume.
Bad losses. Don't let the bad losses outweigh the good wins.
We don't need all that. We need someone in the room that's just the vibes guy. That's just like, are we serious? Rutgers is like, look around. Look, capture this moment that's happening right now in college basketball with Rutgers. Put them in the goddamn NCAA tournament. Like,
if we're talking the top 68 teams in college basketball, they are no doubt one of the top 68 teams.
Yes, they might be 68, but no, no, they're not. They're it's a fun story how good they are. It's I don't think we have to overthink it. And can they sustain it? I guess that's the next question. Is this run a fluke? They beat Purdue, as you said. So like that, they've shown us signs all season. I do think their they have a talented roster. Their bench is a little suspect. They don't get much production from the bench. But Ron Harper's a guy that if he was not playing in the Big Ten and he was playing in, I don't want to name lesser conferences, but he's in a conference that's absolutely loaded, more so than any other conference with individual talent. No matter how good, bad, or otherwise you believe these Big Ten teams are, I think that's not controversial to say, Tate, that the Big Ten is the best collection of like the individual players in terms of like All-American candidates, So with that in mind, Ron Harper kind of isn't in that mix when we talk about all the great players. Ron Harper Jr. in the mix when we talk about all the great players in the Big Ten. But he is one of those guys. Like he's been one of those guys at Rutgers anyone that's followed Big Ten basketball probably has a story about when Ron Harper ripped your team's heart out. Like you remember this guy can play. This is not a fluke what we're seeing from him. Geo Baker, same thing. I don't know, man. I don't see any reason why they can't keep it rolling. Which isn't to say I think they're gonna go to the Elite Eight for God's sakes, but yeah, put them in the tournament. They belong in the tournament.
And also, I mean, when Harper Jr. gave the Jordan shrug in this game, that kind of cemented the fact that not only is this team the hottest team in the country, they're the most confident team right now. They want the smoke. They want to play, these top teams in the Big Ten and make a statement. So they're definitely in. I'm over the bubble talk. Rutgers is in the tournament. Get over it. Steve Pikiell's done a great job with this team. Again, the Big Ten's too deep for them to get the real recognition that they deserve. You're right about that, but we have to do it here. Rutgers basketball.
Rutgers basketball. Are you worried about Illinois?
No, I'm not.
You're never going to take Illinois off of your list of teams you believe in. What you're going to do is you're going to add bad matchups to the Illinois list.
Yeah, there are two teams that Illinois does not want to be Purdue and Rutgers.
And now Rutgers. Add Rutgers to the
Everybody else, watch out. You don't want to play Illinois. But those two teams, watch out.
Oh man, yeah. Rutgers is what's the rest of their schedule looking like? I meant to.
Their next game is Purdue, correct?
That's right. Yeah, and Harper's got the hand injury. And he might miss that one, which is a bummer. But Purdue's probably going to win that anyway. Then they got Michigan away, Wisconsin at home, Indiana at Assembly Hall, and then Penn State. Dude, they got a gauntlet the rest of the way too.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm saying right now, before the gauntlet comes and everyone turns, sour on Rutgers, let's just go ahead and slot them in before that happens. You know what I mean? Right now, in this present moment, Rutgers is in the tournament. Let's get them in.
Yeah, 16-9. They're yeah, dude. Put them in the tournament.
They're being judged by the bad losses, and I think that is a reflection of all of us in this society. We should be celebrating the good wins because the good wins outweigh the bad losses. That's all I'm saying.
They're probably going to lose to Purdue on Sunday.
6-3 against Quad 1 for the Q fans out there. 6-3 against Quad 1 teams.
So they got 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 5 regular season games left. They got to go 3-2. I don't care how they do it. They go 3-2. You go 3-2. You win 1 game in the Big Ten tournament. The debate's over. They're 100% in. They're 100% in. That's crazy. This team lost to. It wasn't just that they lost to DePaul and Lafayette and UMass in 3 consecutive game state. They also the opening game of the season, Lehigh took them to overtime, which is maybe as bad as any other. Lehigh is not good. Lehigh is not a good basketball team, and they.
But are they a good program? That's the question. Some people were saying so.
They scored 48 points the following game against Merrimack. They won 48-35 against Merrimack.
They were overlooking these games. They play up.
That's how they opened the first 2 games. Then they beat New Jersey Institute of Technology, and then they have that 3-game losing. Like they very easily could have been 1-5 with 1 win over NJIT. Just a hilarious story. There's no other way around it. Like the start that they had to where they're at now. This is going to be an all-time. If Rutgers can figure out a way to get into the NCAA tournament. We're going to be looking at this forever. We're going to be taught, like, anytime a team has a start, we're going to be like, yeah, but remember Rutgers? We can't count them out yet. They could get hot.
It just goes to the philosophy. We need to, like you said, a vibe check. I mean, it used to be with the committee, we didn't know as much, but it did feel like when they saw a hot team coming into March, that team would get precedent. You know what I mean? They would just say, this team is obviously – we check the vibe. These guys are good. We got to get them into the tournament. And I feel like that philosophy, I know we love numbers. I know we're enamored by all the analytics with all these teams. Rutgers passes the vibe check. Put them in the tournament.
Put them in the tournament. Speaking of vibe checks, do you want to do the ACC update now, or do we want to do that? Let's do that for later.
We can do it now.
Okay. Because there's a lot to get to in the ACC, I think, because yeah, I'm just gonna let you have the floor, Tate. We as a reminder, the reason we do the ACC update, not the Pac-12 update, is because the ACC is not good, and a lot of us, myself included, are not closely following ACC basketball this season. And outside of Duke, we're all watching Duke, obviously. Everybody's watching Duke.
Can I quick aside just about Duke? I was looking at the mock draft today, and The Athletic puts out their mock draft, and I like to check in on these things to see how they're progressing throughout the season. And I'm going through it, and Paolo Banchero's at 4. I'm like, oh, interesting. Not a guy we thought might be number 1. And then I get to number 5, and I immediately go, oh my God, is Duke paying money? AJ Griffin is number 5 on the list.
Who is this? This was Sam.
I think it's The Athletic. I guess it's Vicini.
That's him. Yeah, okay. Because I saw he put out his new big board.
Okay, so I get to number 5. I'm losing my mind. I'm like, wait a second, what? So AJ Griffin is now because of the Carolina game. This Carolina team that is both the worst team you've ever seen, no respect, but also Duke beating them catapults them to the next level. We don't know how that works. How could it be such a good win, but also such a terrible loss? We don't know. We'll never understand. And then I get to 15, Titus, and I'm like going through the names, checking out. Mark Williams at 15. And then I think to myself, all right, Mark Williams is at 15. This man is nowhere near close the best big man in college basketball, but yet he's one pick out of where Cole Anthony went in the draft. I'm like, where are the best big men in college basketball? I began to look, and I'm scrolling down, and I'm getting to 30, and I'm like, oh my God, where's Oscar Tshiebwe? Where's Kofi Coburn?
Drew Timme.
Drew Timme. Now I'm in the second round. None of these names. Then I get to 46, Oscar Tshiebwe, 56, Kofi Coburn, and again, Mark Williams, number 15. I don't get it, Titus. But the ACC update is that Duke has 3 first-round picks on their team. So if they don't win the title.
Where's Wendell Moore?
31, 32, somewhere in there.
Because that might be 4, dude.
Okay, so they have 4 first-round picks. So if they don't win the championship, historic failure, I think some would say. based on the talent that they have there. So
that's where, you know what the ACC update should be? It should be, instead of you give us an update on the ACC, it's the Duke shook, the Tate shook by Duke power rankings or whatever. Like what is it that's got you shook the most about Duke this week?
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that. Oscar Tshiebwe at 46, Kobe Coburn 56, Mark Williams 15. Make it make sense. I don't get it. Anyways, Duke number 1 in the ACC with 4 potential first-round draft picks. Notre Dame second in the ACC. Duke and Notre Dame actually both 12-3. Duke has the tiebreaker. So there you go. That's a race to watch out for. Notre Dame almost lost to Boston College. Had to go to overtime.
Yeah, I was watching that. I was watching that.
Already lost to Boston College earlier in the year, so this could have been 2 losses to Boston College potentially, but they dodge a bullet. Miami's 11-4. They're now in 3rd place in the ACC.
Well, yeah. What's up with Miami? No, nobody. Miami wasn't Miami in first. Miami wins in Cameron Indoor Stadium. They were in first place. I know they've fallen back a little bit. Miami's an NCAA tournament team.
Yes, they're in the tournament. Okay, so they're in 3rd place.
Do they have? Are they in the ACC? Are we taking them seriously as like an ACC title threat?
No, the regular season is a 2-man race, I think, right now.
It's a 2-man race.
Notre Dame and Duke.
Okay.
Which is Duke's. I mean, Duke doesn't win the regular season. Again, historic, colossal failure. Something that we will be talking about for decades and eons to come.
So even though Miami's a game back, I'm not telling you you're wrong. I just want this spelled out for me. Miami's a game back, but you think they're done. You think Miami's not going to be able to.
I think Virginia's going to beat Miami on Saturday.
Okay.
And then I think Virginia Tech is going to beat Miami the following Saturday. And I think Syracuse plays them the last game of the season in the ACC. And if I know anything about the Boeheims and Syracuse, they're going to win that game heading into the ACC tournament. So I see 3 losses coming up for Miami in my ACC calculations. And I would happily be wrong if Miami shocks the world and wins the ACC. But that's the way that I'm looking at it as I look through their schedule. Number 4 in the ACC, not as far back as you would think. The University of North Carolina at 10-5, 18-8 on the season. Again, embarrassed at home by your Pittsburgh Panthers. Back-to-back trips to Chapel Hill. The Capels leave with W's, which is disgusting. It makes me sick just to even say that out loud. I don't know if you watched this game, Titus, but it was.
I have decided to just like not watch Carolina the rest of the year because it's almost more fun. You have entered, and I say this lovingly, you have entered the Mike Rutherford territory where it's more fun to consume your team's content through you than it is to like watch your team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it's more fun for me to now get Louisville's not making the tournament. Louisville sucks. They lost their coach this year. We understand that. I have no reason to watch Louisville play this season. They
play North Carolina next, so there you go.
Do they really? So my approach with Louisville has been, I just like, if I want to know what's going on with Louisville, I just go check out Mike's Twitter feed or something, or see what he's talking about. And then I, laugh to myself, or most of the time laugh to myself. And sometimes it's not laughing. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Right now it's laughing. I think they've lost 7 in a row for the first time since 1941 is what he said. So I have reached that point with you, Tate, where North Carolina, I watched the Carolina Duke game. I will watch the next Carolina Duke game. But between now and then, I just want my Carolina updates from you and your Twitter and like your the tweets you fire off and then delete after like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm just like
these dudes are bitches. Wait, I probably shouldn't say that. Delete.
It's
I hate this team so much. Delete.
The things like I never thought. One time I was just sitting there to myself last night, and I was like, I think I like Larry Drew more than Caleb Love. This is where we are. But North Carolina, not that far back. Probably out of the tournament somehow, even though they are in 4th place in the ACC, 18-8. But they don't have the quad. The Qs do not approve of North Carolina, so they're kind of shocked there. Wake Forest is next. They're 5th. Wake Forest, I think, is in the tournament. They have the ACC Player of the Year, and also
is he going to win? Because I've seen like the London Williams. The talk of him winning ACC Player of the Year is picking up so much that it worries me that it's not obvious. You know what I mean? Like why is the campaign this strong unless he's not actually going to win and they're trying to convince everybody? You know what I mean? That worries me. that it's going to Paolo?
I think that everyone is trying to make sure that it's just not we give this to Paolo because he's the best talent in the ACC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the ACC media is trying to protect that and actually give it to the best player, which is why Alondes Williams is getting pushed so hard by everybody. But you're right. It does concern me. And I feel like if Banchero is going to be nominated for the Wooden Award and the Naismith Award and all this sort of stuff, he's probably, you know what I mean? People expect he's going to win the ACC Player of the Year. So that's
a great point that Banchero gets brought up as All-American stat. Like Alondes Williams.
First team All-American is what people were saying.
Alondes, no one, I haven't heard a single person make the argument that Alondes Williams belongs on an All-American team, but he is the ACC Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right.
Interesting. Yeah. So there you go. And
something to monitor.
Yeah, something to monitor. And Wake Forest plays Notre Dame at home next. And I think that's the game to watch because if Notre Dame loses this game, helps Duke obviously on this path to win the regular season the first time since 2010. And also, it could be a nice win for Wake Forest to, let people know that, hey, we're here. We're for real. And then the next team and the final team I'll talk about is Virginia, obviously at 10-6 as well. I think they're going to make the tournament. I just think that the tournament loves Tony Bennett too much not to let him in. So I think those are all double-digit win teams in the ACC, the ones I just listed. And I think
what's
the all tournament minus Carolina. I think Carolina's going to they're going to box them out of the tournament. I don't know why, but the media wants us to be Indiana. You tell me why they want us to be Indiana. I don't get it. We won a title 5 years ago, but if I see it one more time by a media person, I'm just going to
who brought Indiana into this?
Every single person out there, they're like, this reminds me of Indiana. I'm like, why?
What?
Everyone,
What?
everyone I talk to, they just bring it up. They're like, you guys are now like Indiana. I'm like, wait a second. Give me 40 years and you can say that.
Hold on. Who brought it? What is happening?
Every person I talk to. That's what they compare it to. And I don't want to be here.
What way? They're saying this is the beginning of the end for Carolina as a blue blood?
Yeah, they're just like, you guys are on an Indiana path. And I'm like, no. We're not going to be on an Indiana path.
So they don't mean the team. They don't mean these specific two teams because Indiana and Carolina.
No, they're talking programs. We're talking programs.
They're talking as a program.
Yeah, we're not talking teams. We're talking programs. And I refuse to let that narrative win out because it's a Duke narrative. You know what I mean? I also saw Duke people tweeting like, I can't believe Carolina gave the reins over to someone who's never coached before, with the irony of that's exactly what Coach K is doing. You know what I mean? Like. What a world we live in.
What's the ACC the ACC fans as a whole, do you think? Because I know you're plugged into other programs and state fans and Virginia fans chirping at you and all that stuff. Does the ACC suck? And do you feel like this is because coming into this season, you felt like Carolina had to carry the burden of this, that when Carolina and Duke are good, it elevates the rest of the conference. So you feel the pride with the conference. When the conference is bad, it's usually a reflection of Carolina being bad, right? Do you feel like that's the case with, say, the Virginia fans, the Virginia Tech, the Syracuse fans? Do you feel it across the conference that, like, my God, we suck and we need to figure this out as a conference? Or is everyone just kind of focused on the individual teams? How do we get our teams into the tournament so we can lose in the second round?
I think that everyone needs Coach K to come out and say that the ACC is a lot better than the media is reporting. I think we all need Coach K to stick his neck out for the ACC and say that it's all media narrative. This is a really tough league. And when someone asks him how many people should make, the tournament, he should say 8 teams. You know what I mean? That is what we need. That's the leadership that the ACC needs. But no one, because Duke is selfish, as we saw when Wendell Moore goes down, no one on the team goes and helps him out. Coach K is the only one that comes out and does anything. So Duke's not sticking their neck out for the ACC. Carolina, they have no voice right now. Virginia, they're not that team. They're not the ones who can really do that. It's a leadership void. And I hope that Coach K sticks his neck out and says 8 teams, and then we'll take 6. You know what I mean? It's a negotiating deal.
It's a negotiation.
8 teams will take 6.
Oh, man.
That's the ACC update.
That's it, huh? That's your ACC update.
That's it.
All right, fraud power rankings this week. This is a fun one. I enjoyed putting these together. We didn't do one last week. I remembered as I was doing this. So
you need a break. You said you wanted to collect more frauds.
Anytime we take some time off from the fraud power rankings, it's always fun to dive back in. So here are your fraud power rankings for this week. At number 5, Tate, we start out with the head coach of your Alabama Crimson Tide, Nate Oates, who was on Wednesday night tossed from the game versus Mississippi State. He got a second technical foul with about it was right around it was like 8:17 left in the game, I want to say. He did I feel like Bobby Hurley has done this move before. I don't know why that's coming to my mind. I don't know if he has or not, but like I can close my eyes and picture Bobby Hurley doing this, where he went to the ref and said, "Do it, like do it."
Sure, yeah. He's like, "I dare you to do it." Yeah.
I dare you to do it. And then the ref was like, "I'm gonna do it," and he's like, "Do it then." All right, I'm gonna do it. So Nate Oates is the video of him saying, go ahead to the ref, saying because the ref's threatening him with the second technical foul. The ref tosses him. Nate Oates gets thrown out. So why is he on the fraud power ranking state? Because here's where things get a little murky and we have to suss this out. I only have him at number 5. He belongs on the power rankings, but how high? I don't know. We have to figure this out.
5 feels right. 5 feels right.
He gets tossed. When he gets tossed, the Bama is down by 1 to Mississippi State. This is an Alabama team we've talked about a lot on the show, up and down all season. They can beat anybody. They can lose to anybody. It is they were the original Rutgers kind of of inconsistency. But instead of whereas Rutgers is like month to month inconsistency, Alabama is like 4-minute stretch to 4-minute stretch almost. Like it's so you have no idea what Alabama team you're going to get. So anyway, they're losing a game they should be winning. There's about 8 minutes left. They're down by 1. As soon as he gets tossed, Mississippi State scores the next 6 points, okay, which then leads into the under 8 media timeout. So we then get the first timeout where Nate Oates is not talking to his team. He is not in the huddle. It was Charlie Henry is the guy who stepped in for him and became the new acting head coach for Alabama. After Charlie Henry's first timeout as acting head coach, Tate, Bama goes on an 18-2 run and puts this game away.
True leader.
So my question is, because I saw a lot of chatter after this that Nate Oates inspired his team. A lot of Bama people were saying this was a Norman Dale move, that he purposely got tossed so that Shooter could come in and he could show Shooter, like it was like some sort of orchestrated thing where he was trying to get the team going by getting tossed. I see it a different way. I think maybe there's a chance that Nate Oates getting the hell out of there was actually good for Bama. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility. It was something to discuss. But that's the reality of what happened. As soon as Nate
Oates is now the number 1 candidate for the Ewing theory?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's more to the story. I'll just put it that way. Someone did ask Nate Oates, and I think in the post-game press conference, did he get tossed on purpose? And he said he was laughing. He was like, "No, I did." He said that was the first time he ever got tossed. He said he's gotten plenty of technical fouls, but he's never gotten tossed.
Oh, no way. He's gotten tossed before. I think I remember Nate Oates getting tossed at Buffalo. We need to check the tape on that. He's trying to rewrite history. I think he's gotten tossed before.
Yeah. I love Nate Oates, by the way.
I do too. That's why I think
I love Nate Oates.
Yeah. He's a teed up guy. He gets it.
I just let I think it was last year when he was going in on K that it won me over forever. The fact that he just shoots from the hip and doesn't care. And he tells the ref, "Go ahead, toss me," and then he gets tossed and he's talking shit to people on the way out. I saw him turn to the media table. I don't know what he said or who he said it to, but he was just. There's something about him, and I can't explain it. And I understand it's irrational. It makes me a hypocrite because some guys. You could have a handful of other coaches that have the exact same behavior, and I'd be like, "This is classless. Clean it up." Yeah.
Clean it
you're
up.
Supposed to be a role
Keep
model.
It together.
But
it feels like dude. Nate Oates it's all purposeful for whatever reason. And I don't know if it's proximity to Nick Saban, but it does feel like he has a master plan. Everything orchestrated. Like you said, situation.
There's something about him that I trust. It makes zero sense, but I mean, I'm fully aware of Chris Mack.
Because they beat Gonzaga.
Yeah, that's what. But if Chris Mack or Mark Turgeon behave this way, I would be killing them. I'd be like, this is ridiculous. Get it together. You got to tighten up, dude.
Especially Mark Turgeon.
But Nate Oates does it, and when Mark Turgeon gets in fights with Juwan Howard, and you're like, oh my god, what a loser.
Yeah, exactly. Does it. But if Nate Oates didn't be sick, you're like, look at Nate Oates.
Fired his team up. We love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I smell bullshit. I think Bama. I think there's a retroactive thing where they're saying this fired the team up, all that kind of stuff. I think Nate Oates was he had a moment of weakness. He snapped. He got tossed, and Bama was better for it. And I don't think we should be applauding him. I think it's fraudulent for him to take credit for that retroactively and say me getting tossed was actually a good thing and it helped the team. False. Fraud. Number 5, Nate Oates.
Yeah.
For number 4, we're staying in the SEC, Tate. It is a man by the name of Rob Harris. He is the strength coach for the University of Kentucky.
Yeah.
He is a man who you might recognize from the scuffle, the kerfuffle, we don't want to call it a fight. The whatever happened on the bench against Tennessee in Knoxville. Kentucky is up 17-15, Tate, when John Fulkerson dives into Kentucky's bench and an altercation breaks out. Now, this altercation, from my unbiased point of view, I think it's pretty clear that Rob Harris, the Kentucky strength coach, started this. That Vescovi's running over to go help up Fulkerson. This dude comes off of the Kentucky bench, sticks his chest out, and tries to like keep Vescovi from getting to.
He tries to bow up on it.
Yeah. Tries to get, and then like Vescovi obviously is like, dude, please get out of my way. I'm trying to get my teammate. Kind of like touches him. That sets the whole thing off. Everyone goes crazy. Which, we could talk about that, but what I really wanted to talk about was that incident leads to Tennessee immediately going on a 15-1 run. And for the rest of the game is never within 8 points the rest of the way. Yeah. Tennessee is well in control of this game the rest of the way. They were down by 2. This incident happens, 15-1 run, put the game away. It's over. I do some research. This guy, Rob Harris, Tate, also was ejected from a game against Arkansas in 2017. So he has a history.
He's a repeat offender here.
He's a repeat offender of talking that shit on the bench. And then I was thinking about it too, because the other thing we talked about coming out of that game, because like Tennessee beats Kentucky's ass, and we were just like, man, there's not a ton to break down with this, except for that fight that seemed to turn the game on the head, or the altercation. It wasn't really a fight. Turns the game on its head. And then also Ty Washington is hurt again. And then I started putting it together, and I was like, oh my God, couldn't you argue that the job of the strength coach, Tate, is to keep guys from getting hurt, to get them in the right strength and conditioning, to keep them not injury prone?
And it's double. It's double.
It's a double whammy, dude. I'm saying that Ty Washington getting hurt every damn game is also this dude's fault. I'm saying that Kentucky, I looked it up. Kentucky, Oscar Tshiebwe and Kellen Grady are the only 2 guys on Kentucky to play in every single Kentucky game this year. They have 2 players that have played in every single game. Wow. Every other guy on that roster has missed time. Connect the dots, dude. There's something going on.
He's gonna. I mean, this is. I mean, number 4 is honestly. I wouldn't be shocked if he was number 1. I mean, that proves to me that we have some real frauds on this list.
We have a strong fraud power
and all that adds up. That's not good. I hope Coach Cal doesn't hear that. He's not Cal's guy of the week.
Also, I completely forgot about this until I was looking up injuries. CJ Frederick's been out like the entire year for Kentucky. Remember him?
Oh, year.
Yeah.
They were like, they said that. They were like, he's out.
They said that at the start of the year. Yeah. I mean, I knew that, but I'm saying like I forgot about it until like, because when you talk about the guys not playing for Kentucky, it's Shaden Sharp. I mean, that's the conversation. But I forgot that CJ Frederick transferred from Iowa and went to Kentucky.
When he was in Iowa, his strength and conditioning coach said he was in great condition and strength.
Oh man. So no, Rob Harris is on the list for the confrontation more than anything else. I mean, it's plain as day. You're up 17-15.
Yeah,
15.
You ignited the run.
You ignited the run. There you go. So number 4, Rob Harris. Number 3 on the fraud power rankings, Chris Beard. There's a 2-pronged thing with Chris Beard right now too, Tate. He got into a confrontation of his own after the Oklahoma game. Texas beats Oklahoma in overtime. Rivalry game. Every game Texas plays in is a rivalry game. That's what I'm learning about Texas in the Big 12. Everybody hates him. Texas goes on the road to Norman, beats Oklahoma in overtime. As Chris Beard's walking off the court, an Oklahoma fan calls him a traitor, yells at him and says, "You're a traitor." He stops dead in his tracks, turns and goes and says God knows what to the kid. Shakes his hand and says, "You're absolutely right." I assume.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that.
Like, yeah, kid. Do you know how many millions I'm making now? Worth it. So there's that, but that's not what puts him on the fraud power ranking state. It's this, that word breaks today that the Texas Texas rematch is happening this weekend on Saturday. Yeah. Texas Tech is now going to Austin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Word breaks today that Texas has stopped selling tickets to the public because this isn't their part. This is now my part. There's a fear that Texas Tech fans are buying all the tickets and they want to come give Chris Beard the exact same treatment they gave him in Lubbock a couple weeks ago. So now to combat that, Texas is no longer selling tickets to the public. Texas officials have confirmed that I'm reading through this. Remaining seats have been promised to UT students only who have a big ticket athletic pass. That's what they're doing with these remaining seats, is they're giving them to students. Chris Beard is doing a press conference where he's like calling on students to come to the game. I don't know how you read it any other way than like Texas Tech is very obviously in this man's head. I mean, he can pretend he's not rattled all he wants. And so my one thought is like, it's very clear that they're in his head. My other thought is like, is this ever going to end? Because I mean, Texas is going to the SEC, and I guess they don't have to play Tech at that point, but until that happens, I don't know what the out is, because I don't see like this being, because I think there might have been a feeling that when Beard goes back to Lubbock, they get it over with, wipe your hands. All right. We're like, you guys are fine. I didn't even mean to do the Matthew McConaughey there, by the way. You guys have your program. I'm now at Texas. I got mine. Like we're all better off for it. Let's bury the hatchet and move on. That is not the case. Mm-hmm. There's no ceasefire. The Tech fans are not going to ever ceasefire. No. We know that about them. No. And I'm just fascinated to see how this continues to play out, because the more it feels like Beard and Texas try to stop things from happening, the more you're inviting it to happen. You know what I mean?
One of my Red Raider friends, I reached out to her, for the first game, and she said the first thing she said back to me: "Wait till Austin." I mean, this was a pre-planned. I mean, they planned to ruin his time there. Like you said, I mean, like they are choosing violence. You know what I mean? Like I think
over and over again, they're choosing it.
Every single time, 100 out of 100 times, the Red Raider fans, and all I see in my head is Old Town Road playing, and them just like guns in the crowd,
taking their cowboy hats off, and
They want Chris Beard, and honestly, I think they wish they played Chris Beard in Texas every game. Like they would sign up for that. And Chris Beard is the opposite, and this is gonna haunt him. And there's always like a reason why the Texas experiment doesn't work out. You know what I mean? Like every single time being a good coach, it could be this is the reason. Like Texas Tech never relents, and it hangs over his entire tenure there. And that's
Chris Beard gets the like Chris Mack treatment in a few years, where we're just like, what went wrong? How did it not work out? Like when he was hired there, it was a slam dunk, and it was obvious they were going to do big things. I wonder what happened. And you're saying we know what happened. What happened is Texas Tech is in his head.
Red Raiders are literally running his mind. Yeah, they have, as the kids say, rent free. You know what I mean? The Red Raiders are rent free in Chris Beard's head.
Yeah. Remember how shout out to Jordan, dude named Jordan who DM'd me, the Texas Tech guy, reminded me that Chris Beard waited until, because I was trying to remember all the reasons that they hate Chris Beard. It's not just that he went to Texas. He was like recruiting guys. He was trying to recruit guys away from Tech to Texas.
Yeah, Mac
yeah, that's right. But there was also that he waited until literally the exact day that his buyout dropped. Texas and him waited to announce the hire until his buyout dropped by $1 million in April. It was like April Fool's Day, I think. On April 1st, his buyout drops, and he waited until then to take the job, specifically because of the drop buyout. I don't know, like which isn't really that big of a deal. But like if you're really trying, if you're going from Texas Tech to Texas and you want to leave Texas Tech in a good spot, and you're like, it's not you, it's just that like I went to Texas, I want to go back home, whatever.
You screw them over even more.
You wouldn't screw them over. You wouldn't be looking for reasons to screw them over.
Screwing them over out on the way out. Yeah, and that's they can never forgive that. They're like, not only are you stabbing me in the back, now you are like continuing to just turn the knife in my back. I mean, leave me alone.
He got in the getaway car and took off, and he was like throwing grenades behind him as he left.
Yes.
And then he got a flat tire like a mile down the road. Now the Tech fans are
he's like waving down. He's like
waving down the Tech fans. He's like, help me out. And it's a truck full of Tech fans that pull up and are like, you need some help, buddy?
Yeah. On Old Town Road, yeah, it's over.
That's an Old Town Roadie. All right, number 2 on the fraud power rankings. This one's tough. I don't like this. No. I don't even want to say this, but it is what it is. Number 2 on the fraud power rankings is God.
Oh my God. What did he do?
You might remember
related.
You might remember not too long ago when the atheists were put on the fraud power rankings. The atheists are now cackling. The atheists are winning. It is God who is proven to be fraudulent as of late. As you said, there's the Providence loss to Villanova, the biggest game in the history of the Dunkin' Donuts Center, a top 10 tilt.
Top 10 tilt.
And Providence loses to Villanova, and they kept like we talked about on the last show, but Providence just kept like it looked like they kept waiting for that magic moment to happen. Colin Gillespie gets wide open.
It was Angels
Providence
in the outfield, but the Angels never came.
Yes. Providence lets Colin Gillespie get wide open, and it looks like they're saying to themselves, we don't need to get a hand up because we're good. Like we're good. This is going to work out for us. And then Colin Gillespie splashes a 3, and they're like, wait a second, that's not supposed to happen. So there's that. But there's also this, Tate. So right now, as we're recording this on Thursday night, Oregon State is playing Arizona. They are down by 20. It is the under 8 timeout. I assume Arizona is going to hold on to win. We're going to go ahead and work on the assumption that Arizona is going to hang on to beat.
Unless they're the New York Knicks, I think they're going to win that game.
And when this game goes final, Tate, the Oregon State Beavers are going to fall to 3-21 on the season. 3-21. And I wanted to bring this up because I saw Arizona's playing Oregon State tonight. They're on Pac-12 Network, so I didn't watch a second of it. Obviously, it's on Pac-12 Network, but it jumped out to me, and I was like, I wonder how good Oregon State is. Is this like could this be a surprise? I know they suck this year, but like, how bad are they? I did not realize that they had only won 3 games. I did not realize it was that bad. The reason this jumps out to me, Tate, is because, as you might remember, last season, the Oregon State Beavers made the Elite 8.
Yeah.
They made the Elite 8. They brought back 3 starters. 3 dudes that came off the bench for them came back. They lost Ethan Thompson, who was their best player, but they brought enough guys back that, like, if you're trying to build a winning culture, you have a locker room full of guys that went to the Elite 8 last year. You would think that they won the Pac-12 tournament. They went to. You'd think there'd be someone in there who's like, hey, maybe we're not gonna make the NCAA tournament, but we're gonna win more than 3 games. Like, this is unacceptable. Let's step it up. So you're asking yourself now, how does God factor into this, Tape? That might be what you're asking. You're like, okay, I get it. Oregon State sucks. Why does that make God a fraud? I'm gonna tell you why. There was a man last year by the name of Bud Ossie, who was the Sister Jean of the Oregon State Beavers. He was 101 years old.
What happened to Bud?
He's 101 years old. When Oregon State played Loyola, we got to know him really well, and they said
he outworked Sister Jean.
He outworked Sister Jean, and Bud Ossie was the good luck charm. And Oregon State goes on this run to the Elite 8, their first Elite 8 since the 80s, I want to say, since 1982. The only time they've ever done it 85, the tournament expanded. So this is the first time since the tournament expanded they ever made the Elite 8. Bud Ossie was there to watch it all. Fast forward this year, they've won 3 games. What the hell happened? Bud Ossie, tragically, in July, passed away, Tate.
Oh my gosh!
And I finally connected the dots this morning as I was trying to figure out what happened to Oregon State basketball, because that was like last year, that run. You point to that and you say, you build on this. This is great for the program. You take this, you move into next year. You're not going to go to the Elite 8 next year, but you're going to like get some positive program momentum. The exact opposite happened. And I think it's because God called Bud Ossie home. And I think that's why we have to call that out. So I don't know, dude. That's the only explanation. I don't understand how you go to the Elite 8.
Like Bud Ossie, I mean, he's in the Engineering Hall of Fame at OSU, and the headline when you Google him, he went out on top. That's literally I mean, he was the spirit of this team. That's what
Oregon State won. So they won 3 games in the NCAA tournament last year, right? That's how you get to the Elite 8. Mm-hmm. They won 3 games in the NCAA tournament, and they won 3 games.
They won the Pac-12 tournament. I mean, that was that was the other crazy part. They were a 12 seed, and then they made this magical run, and they're nothing without Bud.
They're nothing without Bud. So God took Bud from us way too soon at the ripe young age of 101, I think it was that he passed away. But
at least he beat Sister Jean, though. I mean, that was the last. I mean, he went out on top. I mean,
he did go out on top. That's number 2 on the list. How do we top that? How do you top putting God at number 2 on the fraud power rankings? I'm going to tell you how, Tate. I have in all my years of doing this, I'm not sure I have had as many nominees to the Fraud Power Rankings as I have with number one. A lot of friends, a lot of family, very upset. I promised them all that I would include this on the Fraud Power Rankings, that we would get Justice Tate.
Yeah.
At number one, the race to 69.
Oh,
As the Indiana Hoosiers
man.
take a 69-66 lead after Xavier Johnson gets the Trey Galloway brick, lays it in.
Yeah.
With a little, like, what was it, 2 minutes left, I want to say. Wisconsin then closes the game on an 8-0 run to win. All of my Indiana friends and family are stunned by this. They're like, we demand an explanation from Tate. We were promised if you win the race to 69, the algorithm will prevail. What the hell happened? Yeah. I have no answers to them. I just wanted to say, like, on behalf of the show, I'm sorry, but also I take full responsibility, but it's not my fault. It's Tate's thing. The race to 69 is Tate's thing. So
it works 69% of the time, and that's the unfortunate part about the race to 69. And also, the race to 69 is, it's kind of tied to ball don't lie. The ball will dictate how this plays out, and when you brick shots that badly, I think that he won the race on a false, like the shot was so bad that he obviously got a bucket on it, but I don't think it should have counted. You know what I mean? Because it was such a brick, and it was so fortunate that I don't even think it counted for the race to 69, honestly. And I think the ball did not lie, and it made sure to work that out. But Indiana fans, I'm sorry. I mean, usually the race always works, like I said, 69% of the time. It works 100% of the time. And this time, the brick, it was too – you cannot overcome that brick. You know what I mean? And I love Trey Galloway. I like the guy. I like the guy a lot. But you hit that backboard like that, Titus, 6 feet to the right of the basket, what are you going to do? You can't win the race. But also, the race deserves to be on the front. Because I was broken. My mom went to sleep. She was like, I went to sleep when Indiana won the race to 69, and I woke up and they lost. What happened?
Did she really?
Yeah. Like it was my fault.
Now you're letting your mom down,
I'm letting everybody down.
You've let the whole yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But really, it comes down to Trey Galloway. I mean, can we get this man in the gym, and can we go work out with him and work on his shot?
So you're saying if Indiana on that shot, if Trey Galloway just splashes the three, to give them 70 points, they win that game. But instead, it was Xavier Johnson picks up the scraps, lays it in. It was a little. So you're saying the Indiana winning the race to 69 was in and of itself fraudulent. It was a little fraudulent how they won the race.
They would not have won that race unless he bricked it that badly. And a brick that bad cannot be rewarded by winning the race. You know what I mean? It all canceled each other out. That's what happened. I apologize to Indiana fans. You hate to see it.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you have it. You weaseled your way out of the one nicely. That was a nice explanation. We're gonna take a break, come back, do some cleanup duty, have some fun talking to. I want to talk to you about the NBA draft a little bit because you mentioned that Chet is. You brought up a big board earlier, and then you've been talking to me about Chet a little bit more, and I don't know. We got to check in on Tate's big board because you can't. It's easy to attack other people's big boards, but let's take a look at your big board.
Yeah, I got my board's behind me. Don't worry.
Let's take a break. We'll come back and hit some fun stuff. All right, let's do Big Ten Stat of the Week, Tate. Big Ten Stat of the Week brought to you by Discover. When it comes to your credit card, Discover believes in having real people available 24/7 to help answer your questions. Discover exceptionally common sense. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first. Mine's pretty simple.
Okay.
And it's pretty easy. And this is my Big Ten Stat of the Week, and it's courtesy of Fox College Basketball. I'm a
Wait, what?
Yeah. So they put this graphic together for us, and these are Big Ten players to average 17+ points, 8+ rebounds, and 2+ blocks since 1996.
Okay.
7.
Okay. Say it again, and I'm gonna guess the players.
Okay, these are the Big Ten players to average 17+ points, 8+ rebounds, and 2+ blocks since 1996-97. And again, these are just Big Ten players. And I'll start you with the first one, Jawan Johnson, 2010-2011.
Yep,
this guy on the list. And then you got 3 more. So 4 guys have done this, and this is your Big Ten Stat of the Week.
Okay.
2 current players in the Big Ten.
2 current players. The 2 current players. Blocks was a big one, right? So I'm gonna do. Is it EJ Liddell and Trace Jackson Davis?
1 for 2 there. Trace Jackson Davis is on this list. So Trace Jackson Davis, Jawan Johnson, 2 more to go. Another current in the Big Ten.
EJ, what were the benchmarks? 17, 8, and 2 blocks.
Yeah. Since
EJ must have
1996, 97. He might have like 1.7 blocks a game.
Yeah, he's probably at one point. He's probably slipping in that regard. Shoot.
It's another
Draymond didn't average 2 blocks. It's not Draymond. It's not Draymond.
Player is a top 10 pick on Sam Vecini's draft board, by the way. So there you go. That might be a hint. So obviously it's not Kofi Coburn, who is 57.
Oh, Johnny Davis.
Not Johnny Davis either.
It's Keegan Murray.
It's Keegan Murray.
All right.
And the last one's a real tough one, honestly. I don't think anyone would have known this, but Daniel Oturu for Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Minnesota had a run there where they had just a ton of shot blockers. And
2011 and 2.5 blocks per game for Oturu in 2019-2020. So there you go. Those are your 4 guys to average 17, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks since 1996-97 in the Big Ten. That's your Big Ten stat of the week.
2 blocks. So 2 blocks is a stat line that feels like it's not that much when you say it. It's like 2 blocks. I could get. I think like I need to look this up now because I think there might have been a game where I had 2 blocks in a game. I'm not even shitting. I'm not even kidding. I really think I'm gonna pull up my own. Is this the first time I've ever done this on the air? Pulled up my own game log. I really do think I had a game where I had 2 blocks.
I believe you. I think if you think that, you had to. You know what I mean?
Shit, I can't find. I had 2 blocks in 2007. Anyway, I did. It was against. What? It's not loading. Conspiracy, dude. Conspiracy. Big Tech is at it again. Why won't my game log load? It won't load. I think I had 2 blocks against like Eastern Kentucky. Whatever. Who cares? Point is, I was gonna say is like 2 blocks doesn't feel like it's that much because it's like it's 2 plays that you know.
Yeah. But
then you like actually start looking back on stats and even looking at current stats, like guys that are averaging 2 blocks. It's very, very difficult to do. And that's a weird one. That's always a weird one because it feels like. If you told me Johnny Davis was averaging like 3 blocks a game, I'd be like, I mean, it sounds kind of high, but like I see it. I don't know. The guy's athletic. I'm sure he's.
I think the only guy averaging
flying around out there
is Walker Kessler.
Yeah, Chet Holmgren probably.
Yeah, probably Chet. Yeah, Chet.
How many is
two? Chet's at least 2. It might be.
How many is Walker actually averaging? I mean, Walker Kessler must be averaging like 5 a game.
I was gonna say Kessler's probably like 4.6, and I think Chet's like 2.8. You know what I mean? I think Chet's like right on 3. He's close to 3.
Walker Kessler is
final answer
4.7. There you go. And Chet is 3.3.
Oh wow.
There you go.
That's shocking.
All right, here's my my Big Ten stat of the day. It comes to you from Jared Burson, who's an ESPN researcher. He's also a Michigan man, so it's a double whammy. He's on the wrong team twice there, but shout out to him nonetheless for pulling this out. Wisconsin's Johnny. This is the stat. With Johnny Davis went nuts in Assembly Hall. Tate. He finished with 30 points and 12 boards. He is the second player ever to score 30 points in road wins at Mackey Arena and Assembly Hall in the same season, joining Michigan State's Sam Vincent in 1984-85. Now, I was going to go with that stat as my stat of the day. That has now become the honorable mention because in the follow-up to this, Jared Burson replies to his own tweet, and he says this, Tate, that Wisconsin is the first team to win on the road at Assembly Hall, at Mackey Arena, and at the Breslin Center in the same season since Ohio State in 2009-2010, which was my senior year. So I got excited when I read that. When I read that, I was like, oh, cool. I said
Big Ten stat of the week right there.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, "Oh, cool! That's awesome." What do we do again? What was it that we did? Oh, cool! Oh, yeah. Somebody
I remember that.
Yeah, sick, dude. Yeah, I remember. We got a ring for it. I still wear my ring around that says we won at Assembly Hall Mackey Arena.
Banner. That's the final act.
Hey, I saw. Speaking of Johnny Davis, I've been seeing the Johnny Davis National Player of the Year campaign is revving back up. I feel like every time we talk about National Player of the Year, I just say it's Oscar and we move on. Like, I guess, what are your thoughts on it? Have you
Fulkerson folked up his campaign. Fulkerson did. Fulkerson hurt the Oscar Sheboy campaign because on the same night, we talked about this. I mean, on the same night, my man had 30 points, Johnny Davis, in Assembly Hall. And that was, got heads turning, got people back. Kofi's not really, he's had some games that are kind of some snoozers. So Johnny checks the boxes. You know what I mean? He's Johnny
I
Bass.
think, every time we talk about this, I feel like I just give my thoughts and then you just kind of nod along. And because I haven't really felt like it's much of a controversy. I thought like Oscar is,
Oscar's
like
supposed to be the guy.
Oscar, I thought like kind of distanced himself, and I still think it's Oscar. But it is interesting because what's happened. You're exactly right. The fact that these two games happened at the same time or on the same night. I mean, that Johnny Davis takes over and wins it for the Badgers in Assembly Hall on the same night that Kentucky gets smacked by Tennessee. It goes to show how important the seizing the moment type stuff is, like how important the narrative. Because if Oscar Tshiebwe has not had an off night all season, Tate. Like we should say that about this man. He is not. He did not play poorly against Tennessee. He has not played poorly ever. When Oscar Tshiebwe has a bad night, he finishes with like 11 points and 12 rebounds every single night. This is what he does. It's absolutely unbelievable. Here's another Jared Burson stat I found, by the way. Oscar Tshiebwe, every single game this season, has led the entire game, not just his own team or the other team. Every single person on the floor, Oscar Tshiebwe, every time he's been on the floor, has led the entire game in rebounds, except for one occasion when Ty Washington had 12 rebounds and Oscar Tshiebwe had 10. Every other game that Oscar Tshiebwe's played in, he's led the entire game in rebounds. So even when he's like, and he doesn't have off night shooting because he doesn't take a ton of shots, and he knows like how to score and be efficient with it. Like he's only scoring when he knows he can score. He's not out there taking heat check shots. And I find that fascinating because Johnny Davis just against Seth Lundy and Penn State just had 4 points and was like 1 or 2 for 13 or whatever his stat line. He had an awful game against Penn State.
Yeah.
But then he follows it up with a 30-point game. And it's just like a difference of opinion that like Oscar Tshiebwe has just been steady the entire season, doesn't really wow you. And I suddenly started finding myself, Tate. I guess this is why I wanted to talk about this, because I found myself back in the 2020 season, Luka Garza versus Obi Toppin. And I realized that what Johnny Davis has going for him that Oscar Tshiebwe does not is he has the cool shit coefficient, is what I call it.
Yeah.
The
between the legs dunk, you know what I mean?
If he goes between the legs and dunks it, he's my national player of the year without question.
That's his act. That's how he gets you to finally buy in.
So when you're doing the algorithm, you got to factor in like Johnny Davis going nuts at the end of the game at IU and stuff. Like Oscar Tshiebwe doesn't do that. He's not the guy if Kentucky is down 3 with 2 minutes left, it's not like Cal's calling timeout to get Oscar the ball. And I don't know.
Ty Wheeler, Mitchell conversation. No,
it's a fascinating argument because it really does feel like
had the flash unless he gets like 28 rebounds, which I don't think that's going to happen in SEC play. You know what I mean? And maybe it does, and maybe that's the game that kind of secures his whole campaign. But I think the doubt is lingering. You know what I mean? It's leaving room for someone else to kind of step in.
It does. It feels like a repeat of 2020, but the difference, I guess, is Tshiebwe, unlike Garza, Tshiebwe's on an actually national title contending team. I guess Iowa was very good that year, but no one thought Iowa was going to, go to a Final Four, win a title.
Obi could have won the title.
Obi could have won the title. And also Oscar is a better defender than Luka Garza was. So it's not a 1-to-1 comparison, but it is the comparison of like just the slow and steady guy that just puts up monster numbers night after night, the big dude versus the flashy dude that like is just like I don't need to see numbers. I saw that cool shit that just happened in front of me. That's all I needed to see. Yeah, that's my national player. Yeah,
that's my guy. I mean,
so that's
I thought Agbaji at one point was going to have more of a campaign, and maybe he gets pushed up a little bit, but it does feel like maybe it's going to get to a 2-man race here soon.
That's my advice to Johnny Davis, though. If you want to win this thing, just go between your legs, and it's over. Yeah. That's all it takes. Just go between your legs and dunk it one time, and the trophy's yours.
Respect.
What about your big board? Let's do that, and then we'll wrap it up with some shout outs because you said the other day in passing as we were talking about something else, you just mentioned quickly that Chet Holmgren is your new number 1. And I feel like that's a sentiment that is shared by a lot of people now, which just like going from national player of the year discussion to number 1 pick, it's all the same stuff of like, there's been 1,000 people that have been at the top. The guys who keep falling off the top aren't even playing poorly. It's just like another guy is playing better and it just keeps cycling through. So that's it right now. Like right now, as it stands today on, what is it, February 17th?
Yeah.
You think Chet's number 1? No longer Jabari Smith, even though Jabari has not sucked in the slightest since we last checked in on this stuff.
I think the last time we checked in, it was a 3-man race, and we were talking about Banchero, probably being that guy because he went head-to-head against Chet. And then Jabari Smith kind of jumped into the conversation, and now I'm officially saying it's a 2-man race. It's not a 3-man race. It's a 2-man race. It's between Jabari Smith. It's between Chet Holmgren. And the interesting part about this is whoever gets the number 1 pick, if we're talking about the Pistons or the Magic, whoever is 1 or 2, if the Pistons are 1, the Pistons are going to take Jabari Smith number 1. If the Magic are number 1, they're going to take Chet Holmgren number 1. You know what I mean? So, like, the number 1 pick is actually dependent on who gets the number 1 pick. So, as we joke about 1A, 1B situations, this is literally a 1A, 1B type scenario in the NBA this season. I think the big board, Vicini has Holmgren number 1 because he has this little stat in there. The last 12 games, he's shooting 61% from the field, 55% from 3.
That's actually insane. That's actually insane.
It's insane. That's what I mean. He checks like he's such a freak of nature that you have to inquire about him at number 1. And I think last year a lot of people had Evan Mobley maybe as number 1 on their board because he was that kind of freak of nature, and they didn't pull the trigger as they would have in the past. You know what I mean? And a lesson was maybe learned because he's obviously the rookie of the year and has Cleveland, contending potentially for the East. So Chet Holmgren, he does that. You know what I mean? He's fascinating in that sense. But I think if Detroit gets the number 1 pick, Jabari fits their team more so than Chet. And if Chet and Suggs end up in Orlando together, that's good for the NBA. Like, that'll be fun.
Yeah, it will be fun. I was watching Chet last night against Pepperdine, and I understand it's Pepperdine and they're playing in a high school gym, and it's not lost on me like that. Yeah, it's great one of the best high school gyms in the country, outside the state of Indiana. But he's unlike anything I've seen I'm not saying he's the Durant of college basketball because he does stuff that, like, he's a better defender than Durant was. The way he blocks shots and his instincts, and he's not. It feels like he's a completely different player, and I don't know, dude. I was someone who wasn't necessarily a hater, a non-believer, but I didn't watch him a ton when he was in high school, and I didn't watch him a ton, leading into Gonzaga and the preseason stuff and whatever AAU circuits and all that stuff. So when you first see him at Gonzaga, he's feeling out his way. It does jump out to you immediately how skinny he is. 20
pounds lighter than Evan Mobley.
The scouts say all the scouts are still high on him, and they promise it's not going to be a concern at the next level. But, like, your brain, having watched basketball your entire life, you're watching him and you're like, I don't care what everyone else says. It has to matter. It has to. You're going to get broken in half. But then you watch him play, and you just, like, throughout the season, and the way he slowly, like, figured out his role in this team, which is like, I'll just do everything. He's gotten more aggressive, but, like, selectively aggressive on both ends of the floor. He's been incredible to watch, and I think there are a lot of people that checked out on Gonzaga after the Duke game probably that are going to be very surprised at how good Chet Holmgren has gotten between then and where he's at now when they finally check back in March Madness, and they're like, holy shit, who's this guy?
Absolutely. That's what I mean. I think he's impressed me more, as the season has worn on, which I didn't necessarily know was going to be the case. You know what I mean? He gets it. And as much as I laugh when people say someone's a two-way player, because what other player? I mean, you hope to God they're a two-way player, but
Jaden Ivey, he's not a two-way player. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing on defense.
Well, there you go. I mean, like, I hope whoever I draft is a two-way player because I want to win.
Yeah.
So I want to play defense. So, I mean, Chet Holmgren does check that box too. So.
Yeah. But Jabari is the reason. I don't know. Jabari could still go number 1. You're saying?
Yes.
You still think Jabari's
if Detroit has the number 1 pick, they're taking Jabari Smith. When I talked to the NBA, that was what the NBA told me.
The NBA told you?
The Pistons are going to take Jabari.
Who are you taking? Who if the Hornets get the number 1 pick and they call you,
Jabari,
like, you still like Jabari more than Chet?
Yes.
Okay.
If I want to, because I want a guy that can, I mean, I think
Jabari.
Jabari could be like a top 30 all-time NBA scorer, I think, if he really is put in the right situation. And you know what I mean? I think he could be an all-time scorer in the NBA. And I think Chet could be an all-time talent. He could be very unique and impact. You know what I mean? But I'm going to go for the guy who can get me 30 points potentially a night.
Jabari definitely feels more known to me, like in terms of my brain can comprehend what he's doing. And I don't know if that's good or bad because yeah, I admittedly every time I try to watch NBA these days, I'm like, I don't even really recognize what the sport is anymore, which says more about me than the NBA. I understand that, but it's the divide is I know the divide is slowly growing more and more between maybe not even slowly NBA and college and like the basketball that I think I know, and the game is passing me by. So it's like trying to figure out like how these guys translate to the next level, and it's becoming more difficult for me. But when I watch Jabari, I see like that guy is great, and it makes sense to me. As I said, like with Chet, he's so much. He's so skinny, and like the way he approaches the game is like a little different. It's very much a new age type. I don't know. I'm getting lost in the weeds here.
But you're
trying to suss out the differences. Like Chet to me feels like more of the gamble, even though he's like the better prospect and he's taller and he's longer and all that. It's like my brain can't comprehend it. Jabari, I watch him play. I'm like, that dude is good as hell. I don't need to see anything else. I'm sold on him.
Which I think is the argument that like between. That's why I say one team would take Jabari and the other one would take Chet. I think Orlando looks at Chet and they're John Hammond's their GM, and John Hammond is the guy who drafted Giannis, drafted John Henson, drafted Thon Maker, all these guys a wingspan. So like when he sees Chet Holmgren, I mean, he's like salivating. You know what I mean? He's like, I that is who we want to come down here. Yes, 6'10" and 7 foot wingspan is amazing, but I want the 7'6" wingspan and the guy who looks like he's an alien. Yeah, I want him to come to Orlando. So that's why Chet's so fascinating, because he's so unique and different, and obviously, I mean, he is gonna have an impact. And if he went to Orlando and you have Suggs and you have Franz and you have Cole Anthony, I mean, they have a lot of young guys that are, fascinating, really.
I'm basically the guy that doesn't when something comes along that completely changes everything and revolutionizes everything and all that. I'm the guy that would tell Henry Ford, what's the saying, like if Henry Ford would have just tried to make faster horses instead of making the car, or whatever that analogy is. I'm the guy that's like trying to find the fastest horse still.
Yeah.
I'm not the scout that's out there trying to like invent a new car and all that. And to me, Jabari Smith is the fastest horse. And I'm like, that's a horse I know well. Yeah. And I would like to ride that horse. I'm getting lost with this.
I mean, but you're right. And then the other shocking part of all
I can't comprehend like a guy that I've never seen anything like this before. And people are going to draw comparisons to, obviously Durant's the obvious one because he's Chet Holmgren's skinny and Durant's skinny. So you want to really Porzingis is another one. But they're not. It's like the way he's different. He's different than both those guys. Durant at the college level was like far more aggressive offensively and was looking for his shots so much more. And he was like a stat stuffer for better or worse, And that's not how Chet plays.
Chet's not a scorer. You know what I mean?
He's not a scorer. He's just a guy who scores.
But he's not a scorer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He doesn't want to score.
Jabari is a scorer, and if I would like a franchise. Especially if I have Cade Cunningham, who's a facilitator by nature. It's like I have Cade now, then I bring in Jabari, and I have Beef Stew, I have Isaiah Stewart. Like I can build a team around that nucleus, and everybody kind of knows their role, and they're comfortable in their role. You know what I mean? And Chet, he's going to have his own utility role where it's like Chet does whatever Chet wants to do. It's kind of like Scottie Pippen. Like Scottie Pippen, no one was like, we told Scottie to go do this. Like he just did everything, and it was just like, that's Scottie. Like, he has a few steals, he has a few blocks, he takes a couple threes. It's like
like Chet, it feels like if you ask Chet what the things he wants to do the most on a basketball court, scoring is like third or fourth at best. Maybe fifth or sixth. And that doesn't compute in my head to take a number one pick who like scoring isn't first or second. You know what I mean? But at the same time, But at the same time, you watch Chet Holmgren, you're like, this guy's so good.
Yeah.
So it's like it breaks my brain because like I have a very linear way of approaching basketball, and like I can't envision. I'm not an algorithm guy, Tate. I'm not. You know this. So Chet Holmgren is like living in the metaverse over here and freaking I don't know.
it's hard to really break down what it is, but also I love that Ivy. Shout out to Sam Vecini. I love that Ivy's ahead of Banchero because I think he should be. I think Ivy is a much more, if I'm the Rockets, which is slotted in at 3 right now, I like Jaden Ivey as a fit for a team. We need a lead guard who is going to be able to play in space. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Then we have Ivy. We have Jalen Green, who's obviously they took last year, who's a scorer. It's a fun
That's fun.
backcourt. Yeah.
That's fun. It does feel like by the time the draft gets here, the debate is going to be 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4. Like those are like. Feels like the top 4 is
wild because Banchero could have a great tournament, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, I don't know, man. Are you really going to pass on Paolo? Are you really this guy has it. Whatever it is, he has it. But Chet and Jabari are better prospects than Paolo.
Yeah, I agree with that.
At this point.
I think to me it's pretty clear that Chet and Jabari are 1 and 2 in some order, but trying to figure out what that order is
that's for Vecini.
Yeah, that's for someone who's not an amateur basketball analyst like myself. All right. I'm glad. Thanks for helping me through that, Tate. You're the
I talk to the NBA. I come back. I report what they say. A lot of it's a lot of nothing, but I like what I'm seeing from the big boards this year.
I guess the reason I want to bring that up is everybody should be watching Chet Holmgren. He's very good. He's fun to watch, and I think our listeners would enjoy it. And I don't think a lot of people are probably tuning into Gonzaga at Pepperdine with Robbie Hummel on the call. By the way, shout out to Hummel, convincing ESPN to fly him across the country to go to Pepperdine and call him out.
Yeah.
How fast do you think he jumped on that one? Yeah,
he's like, I'll go to Malibu.
Malibu? Yes.
They're like. We're thinking Starkville, Mississippi, or He's like, I could do Pepperdine.
You got shout outs?
Yeah, I just want to shout out the GOAT, Michael Jordan. It's his birthday. Happy 59th birthday. As North Carolina basketball wanes away right in front of my face, it's nice to have the memories of Michael Jordan. He's the best. And every single time I see another birthday, I can't believe, one, how old I am and how old Michael Jordan is. I feel like he could go play on a court, anywhere, and then I see he's 59 years old. But shout out to him. Happy birthday.
Do you think Michael Jordan – when do you think the last time Michael Jordan played a competitive game of basketball is? Do you think he's still playing?
Yeah.
He probably still playing pickup, right?
Yeah, I think he plays with the Hornets. I think he, screws around. I know last year or a couple years ago when they came to Dean Dome, apparently he, did a little run.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, he's a maniac. I mean, everyone asks what the greatest gift of Michael Jordan is, and I got this firsthand, for BJ, and he's like, the greatest gift is that he doesn't sleep. He doesn't have to sleep. That's why he's a maniac. He would go out all night, do whatever, and then not sleep, and then be 100%. And that's not supposed to happen. And somehow he is wired that way where he doesn't have to do that. And that is a succinct advantage. When everyone else has 12 hours in a day, Michael Jordan has 20. You know what I mean?
That makes me sick about these guys in the NBA now too, that they can all get James Harden is probably the best example. All his fluctuating weight, and he gets traded and loses the weight immediately, but then he's out of shape and not out, and you can't figure this guy out, and he always wants to go to the strip clubs, and then when he's locked in, he's one of the greatest scorers in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
And it stresses me out and it upsets me because I just think about if you dropped me into, it doesn't even have to be the NBA, you dropped me into any level of basketball, Tate, I was I was at such a disadvantage from a skill and athleticism and everything else standpoint that I was getting well over 8 hours of sleep. I was stretching very, it's like a regimented schedule of when you have to stretch, what your pregame meal has to be, because you got to get that machine finely tuned and all the best dudes are that way where they can, I don't know. It's like imagine Michael Jordan would have spent his entire career, never touched a drop of alcohol, never smoked anything. Never, what I mean? Well, how good could he have been?
Yeah. Well, the thing is he
went to bed at 10 o'clock every night,
but he still was at the gym. You know what I mean? That's that's the other thing too. It's you got to go hard off and on the court. You know what I mean? And that's James Harden has one half of that. He goes hard off the court, but if he can go that hard on the court, then they could win a championship, or he and Philadelphia could win a championship.
I guess that's what LeBron's doing though. Is that why LeBron has become so lame and corny? In his later careers, he's trying to he's transitioned into like trying to find the fountain of youth, and by doing so, he's like not actually like living a fun life. He's just like getting too much sleep and drinking too much water, and
On the call map.
and that's why he's just like in the last 5 years gone from like the coolest story in the NBA that he went back to Cleveland and won a title to now it's like everyone just rolls their eyes at he's in the Super Bowl, like, you know, dancing in the
He wants a parade.
dancing to the halftime show. Yeah. And you're like, what is this guy doing? It's like,
I was like, this guy cannot steal the Rams parade. I mean, my goodness. That was the craziest thing I've heard all weekend.
I think he's depriving himself of fun experiences now because he wants the longevity. He's trying to keep his body right. And so he's saying no to everything else, which is why when an opportunity for parade comes up, he's like jonesing for it so badly. He's like, I need fun in my life. I need like that. How else do you explain being in the Super Bowl suite and everybody he's around? Like everyone's watching the same thing. Like the Super Bowl halftime show is sick and we're all bobbing our head to it and we're all enjoying it, whatever. And LeBron James is losing his freaking mind at Eminem and Dr. Dre. And I think it's because he's been so deprived, Tate, that he finally, you know,
yeah, you're right. I think like those
he gets a taste of it. He just goes nuts.
He gets to maximize it. He's like, this is the most fun I've ever had. And everyone's like, you haven't seen a concert? He's like, I haven't been to a concert in 20 years.
Yeah.
All I do is grind, son.
Makes you think. Speaking of goats, I want to shout out the real goat, Coach K, who is fine. Apparently, he explained. I think it was to Sean Farnham. I think he did an interview I watched that. He was explaining what the hell happened against Wake Forest, why he didn't come out in the second half. Said he was lightheaded. Said he got an IV at halftime. Tate. So for the haters out there that said that Coach K was faking this because he didn't want to answer questions in the postgame press conference about Tommy Amaker or Bob Knight. From those stories that leaked or were released the morning of the Wake Forest game. Shame on you. Coach K was lightheaded. He did look like, I went back and like watched the videos of him sitting on the bench. He looked like shit in the first half. So I actually do believe him on this. But
I do believe this too. I was going to say that. I was like, I don't think Coach K. I don't think he pulled one over on us this time. I think he's prone to do that. He's obviously, he's a little anal. He knows what needs to be done. And I think in this sense, he wasn't dodging anything because at the end of the day, I dare one of those reporters, who are all kissing his ass to ask him a real question. None of them will, other than the Chronicle kid. And all Coach K will say is, "What's your major?" back to him. He's the only one. I can't remember his name. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Piazza, Jake Piazza.
That's right. I was like,
Jake Piazza.
I always called him Jay Clemente. I was like, it's some baseball name that I love. Yeah,
Jake Piazza. I want to shout out Jalen House of the New Mexico Lobos, who had 34 points against Wyoming. Got Richard Pitino his first big signature New Mexico win. Tate. Jalen House's last 4 games for New Mexico are as follows. Tate. He had 3 points against San Diego State. He followed that up by having 42 points against Air Force. Then he scored 10 against northern New Mexico. And then the other night on Tuesday, I think it was, he had 34 against Wyoming, who snuck into the top 25 and was red hot and dominating the Mountain West Conference. So, folks, if you're looking for a consistent scorer in college basketball, keep looking. Jalen House is not your guy. But if you're looking for someone who on any given night.
Like boom or bust guys?
Yes. Yeah. He had 45 points in a two-game span, and 3 were against San Diego State and 42 were against Air Force. Oh, man. So, anyway, 34 against Wyoming. Shout out to him. That's fun. Good for you.
Good for the Pitino brand, too, because we need more Patinos in college basketball. So I love that. Love to hear
What
that.
else? Is that it?
Honestly, I mean, I wanted to shout out the Rams. I mean, they did the Super Bowl parade here in Los Angeles.
Did you go?
I didn't even know where the parade was, but it happened. I'm happy for the Rams. I saw Michigan put out they had the most former players ever in the Super Bowl. That was my runner-up, Big Ten Stat of the Week. So shout out to them for doing that. But yeah, I mean,
Michigan had the most former players.
Most former players in the Super Bowl all time. Your Michigan.
Oh, all time.
All time.
All time, because it's just Tom Brady a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. It's exactly that, literally.
So they basically could have just tweeted Tom Brady went here, and it would have been like, cool, man.
That is what they're going to tweet next year.
You're saying so. What I'm hearing is Michigan with Tom Brady they're turning into what Purdue is with Neil Armstrong, where they're just like, just FYI,
just in case you forgot.
he went here.
Also, dude, hottest take I have right now: Tom Brady to the Raiders.
Whoa, I like that because McDaniels is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, the Tuck rule. He wins one for the Raiders, and it's like never say anything to me because I got you guys a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like he makes up for the one, like the one gripe, the one blip in his whole career that you can say is like, I don't know, that was kind of BS. He goes back and wins that franchise a Super Bowl. Just saying.
Interesting.
Yeah. Also, Mick Lombardi, my guy, offensive coordinator for the Raiders. So
maybe Brady.
I'm just thinking to myself, Brady in Vegas makes too much sense. He's too much of a showman to not be in.
Or he doesn't realize that they moved from Oakland and he like wants to go back home to the Bay Area where he's from. So he like says that in his press conference. He's like, I signed with the Raiders because I wanted to go back to the Bay Area. And everyone's like, don't tell him. Shut up. Do not tell him.
He stayed in Henderson, Nevada.
Yeah. My last comment, I'm going to the Daytona 500. I've said this on the last few shows. Daytona 500 is Sunday on Fox. Watch it, 2:30 Eastern. My father and I will be in attendance. I'm actually at their place in Myrtle Beach. We're driving down, which you said to me was the most Daytona thing you can do. Is like you don't actually fly into Daytona, you fly into somewhere else in the South.
No, not
somewhere. And then you drive.
You fly into Myrtle Beach.
Literally Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach. That's the most Daytona thing. You go from Myrtle Beach to Daytona. In fact, if you tell people down in Daytona that you're coming from Myrtle Beach, you're gonna get free beers.
I love it. Fantastic. We're driving down tomorrow, and on the last few times I brought up Daytona, Tate, I've said that I've needed some drivers, so I wanted to run some by you. I got it down to my final 5 of who I'm going to cheer for. I'm going to throw them out there. Chase Briscoe, number 14. He is this is his second year. The reason think I'm going to pull for this guy is he's from Indiana. I think he's the one Hoosier in the field, and that's really all it takes for me is to. But apparently, Bob Pockris of Fox, who's like the NASCAR guru, I was reading his article that he wrote on all this, and he basically said Chase Briscoe kind of has no shot. But good luck to him. I found out he's from Indiana. I was like, oh, I'm going to pull for this guy, and then I was reading Pockris, and he's like. Given his roots in dirt racing, Daytona is not expected to be the site of his first career win. So I was like, all right, well, moving on.
Do you believe in miracles? Because
yeah. So I'm gonna pull for him anyway. Chase Briscoe is my guy. William Byron's my guy because he drives number 24. So there's going to be the nostalgia factor being a Jeff Gordon kid. Yeah. So I'm going to see the 24 going around. I'm just going to instinctively cheer for it, whether I want to or not. You could tell me Byron's like a terrible human being. You could tell me that he,
Yeah, but when you see 24, it's kind of like, once you see your number on the field, you have a respect for him.
It doesn't matter. I'm still gonna pull for him because I'm simple-minded like that. Meanwhile, similarly with numbers, number 34, Michael McDowell, I'm cheering for him because I wore number 34. He's number 34, Tate. But he also won Daytona last year. If you remember, there was a wreck on the final lap with Keselowski and Joey Logano got into it. And then Michael McDowell, who led 0 laps, then just like sidesteps. He's like, I'm gonna step over here. Whoop. And then slip through and wins the race. And the haters have come out in full force. That he was here's a stat for you, 0 for 357 in cup races before that race. And then he wins the Daytona 500. So he has been the haters have just been nonstop saying it was a fluke, it was fraudulent. Yeah. And I will cheer for him to silence the haters. If he wins back to back, he silences the haters. Then the last 2 I had was Jacques Villeneuve, who won the 1995 Indy 500 and is like 50-something years old, I think, is somehow in this field. I don't know how it happened. I kind of don't want to know how it happened. It's like better to just – I was looking at the list today. I was like, what the fuck? Jacques Villeneuve?
That's my favorite thing about NASCAR is like realizing guys that are still driving. You're like, wait a second. Like Mark Martin was like that. Every single time I looked at the race, like 40 years, it was like Mark Martin.
I don't want to understand. I really don't want anyone to explain to me how this happened. I just want to roll with it. That Jacques Villeneuve is now in NASCAR and won the 500 in 1995. And then the last one, Tate, Bubba Wallace, who I knew his team was owned by Jordan.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he drove number 23.
Yeah, I'm a Bubba guy. I pull for Bubba.
I didn't realize he was sponsored by McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which is like,
They've done everything right. They've done everything.
You got McDonald's and Jordan. And then he also drives a Toyota, which so do I, not to brag. We both are Camry guys. But then I found this out. His crew chief is named Booty Barker III. That's Bubba Wallace's crew chief. So I got him on the list. I got to pull for Bubba. I mean, like McDonald's and Jordan and Booty. Those are three things that.
I mean,
those are three things that are undefeated in this country.
Yeah, and like Bubba, I mean, he's been cool with everybody. You know what I mean? As far as like, he's got good teammates. It's good to be Jordan, like bring Jordan into racing. I think I'm pulling for him. I hope he figures it out. But I just miss Dale, man.
I just miss.
It's kind of like Jordan, It's just like I'll never see anything better than Dale. I'll never see anything better than Michael Jordan, And
that was the most. That was the most NASCAR comment you can make because you just go. You're like, yeah, Bubba. Yeah, I just miss Dale though, man. Like, what? 21 years later, you're like, yeah, man. It's just not the same since Dale left us. No. But maybe Bubba doesn't win this year though. He waits until the Daytona 500 is on Jordan's birthday, and that's when it happens.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe birthday weekend. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for. I like that list. I'll pull for all those guys too.
Yeah, those are my guys. We'll see what happens. All right, that's it. That's all we got. Thanks for listening. We'll be back Tuesday night, right? Live show Tuesday night.
Live show Tuesday night. Enjoy Daytona, man.